Arsenal up against Manchester United. Rob, let's go to you first for this one. How do you see this going?
Well, I mean, first off, it's an absolutely massive game for Man United. We mentioned before that their away form at the biggest clubs under Ten Hag has been absolutely appalling. So they'll be desperate to win a game and get that off their back. I think also it's going to be a test of where United are at the moment. They've won 2 games this season against Wolves and Forest. Neither were particularly convincing. They looked really vulnerable in both those games, and then obviously lost quite comfortably at Spurs. So United fans will be looking at that game thinking, well, if United can somehow go to the Emirates and win, that maybe this is a team that is ready to start challenging for a title. If they were to lose that game and lose pretty comfortably, there would be opinions around that team saying, well, is this a team that is going to have to scrape to finish in the top 4 again? The difficulty that Ten Hag has got this season is that they took quite a big step forward last year, getting into the top 4 and winning a trophy. Well, the question now is, where do you go from there? Mark's already said that, is anyone capable of challenging Man City for the title? Well, United really have to show that they are getting to that point now, because we're into Ten Hag's second season. They did relatively well last year. He spent an awful lot of money in the transfer market on new players. This now is his team. They have to be able to go to these places like Arsenal and prove that they are good enough to win these games. And if not, there are going to be questions about this team, and also more and more questions about Ten Hag.
James, how confident should Arsenal feel, I suppose, going into this one, especially after all that Rob just said? And what do you make of that story of Mikel Arteta, who has come in under some criticism for his tactics or his lack thereof, and him saying that he used 43 different formations against Manchester City in that Community Shield match?
Yeah, I was in that presser today. It was. I think for both sides actually, it's a little bit of a test for both managers about the conviction in their own ideas. Erik ten Hag was criticised a lot after the defeat at Tottenham for playing Casemiro as a single pivot in the midfield, and were they too open in that midfield? Will he go with that again at the Emirates? And similarly, Arteta, they've obviously spent a lot of money, big money, on Declan Rice and Kai Havertz in particular. They've sort of altered the way they play now with these inverted fullbacks. Thomas Partey, a midfielder, playing at right back. They played Jakub Kivior at left back, who's primarily a centre half, coming into midfield, trying to overload in those central areas. Obviously, a tactic that a lot of sides are now using, led, I guess, initially in the Premier League by Pep Guardiola, someone, of course, Arteta knows very well and tends to emulate a lot of his ideas. But he has, you're right, come under criticism for that. And I thought it was quite interesting today that Arteta tends to shut down when he gets asked sort of critical questions about team selection or about something necessarily tactical. But today, he said he used 43 different formations against Manchester City and 36 different formations against Fulham. And I think the underlying point there was, don't second guess what I'm doing here, lads. I know a lot more about this than you do. There's a lot more nuance involved here. Yes, there are some teething problems. Yes, we're obviously trying to bed in some new signings. But the sort of slight issue with that is Arsenal have had a lot of praise for doing their business early this summer. They got Declan Rice in early. They got Kai Havertz. Both of them went on the tour to the US. And they also got Jurrien Timber in. And because he suffered this serious knee injury that ruled him out for the rest of the season, everybody thought they signed him as a right back. But he played all season, pre-season, as a left back, coming into midfield in that inverted role that we saw Zinchenko do for Arsenal last season. But they saw Timber as a better defender and someone who maybe gave them a bit more balance. Since his injury, they seem to have been really thrown by that. They've not quite been able to find the player who could maybe perform that role. Zinchenko's had a few fitness problems, but he was good enough to be named on the bench against Fulham. He came on, played a couple of minutes. He played very late on against Palace when they decided to go with Tomiyasu at left back rather than start Zinchenko. And it just seems to have upset everything. And I think there is a perception among some Arsenal fans that maybe in the same way that Guardiola had this criticism for so many years of overthinking things and trying to be too tactically clever, because he's got all these options now and because they've strengthened the squad to the extent that they have, there is a little bit, just a flicker of criticism coming Mikel Arteta's way now that, are you overcomplicating this? Why not just play your best team, play a back four where everybody knows their roles, everybody knows their ideas, go and beat Manchester United. They're in a vulnerable state and really make a statement to say that we are here to challenge Manchester City again. Performances haven't been up to scratch so far, even though they've taken 7 points out of 9. So that will be a fascinating element to it for both managers. Do they stick with their convictions and go with what they believe in?
Okay, well, after hearing, Rob and James talk there, you just feel like this is a much bigger game so early on in the season for both managers. Who do you think will be feeling the pressure more, and how do you see it playing out?
In terms of the pressure, I mean, Premier League managers aren't supposed to feel the pressure, are they? But I guess if you're looking at one, it'd have to be Ten Hag, because, like Rob said, their away record has been abysmal for the last 2 years. It predates Ten Hag. And I've done a piece on it for today, which basically says that 2 seasons ago, Man United had recorded the best ever away record in the in Football League history. That they eclipsed the Invincibles in terms, I think it was a 28-29 game unbeaten run away from home. And I think what happened was Cristiano Ronaldo came in, and they suddenly had a forward that didn't work, and the forward stopped working. And when he went, it was the same situation with Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford. So that's why Erik ten Hag has brought in Rasmus Højlund. He thinks that they need more work rate up front. And if Højlund's fit to play at the weekend, it'll make a massive difference, because United don't press from the front, and it means that they are much more vulnerable to teams attacking them away from home. So they need to resolve that situation, because they can't keep dropping points away from home. I think one win away from home against the top 10 last season, 2 wins away from home against the top 10 the season before that. So they really need to address the situation. But I do think it's come a little bit too early for Højlund in terms of having an impact. And we know that without Rafael Varane. So I think if you're Mikel Arteta, you're thinking this is a great time to play Man United, because they are lacking key personnel, and the young player that they're bringing in to make a difference isn't quite ready yet.
All right, well,
thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.